I, 24 female, got pregnant while I was taking a gap year traveling. I met an older guy. Nothing gross. I was 19 and he was 23. We had fun. I was working in a bar to make money while I explored his city. When I got pregnant, he lost interest really quickly. I understood, but I am pro-choice, and I chose not to terminate. I went home and had my son. I also made sure to get child support. He could afford it. He did fight it, though. I had to prove paternity and everything. Through that, his parents found out. They're well off. They've met my son and truly seem to love him. They provided gifts for his birthday and Christmas. They helped me with extra money so I could complete my university without going into debt. They've taken us on vacation with them so they could spend time with him. They aren't my biggest fans, but we're cordial with each other. 3 months ago, my son's father passed away. He got intoxicated at his bachelor party, tripped on the sidewalk and hit his head. And that was all she wrote. My son and I attended the funeral. We spent a week in that city so his grandparents could see him. They approached me with an offer. They had no other children or grandchildren. Their son was only 28, so we had lots of time to provide them legitimate kids. They didn't say this, I'm just assuming. So they never thought about my son's name. They said that if I changed his surname to theirs legally, they would make him their primary heir. I think this is dumb. He's their only grandchild, and they would deny him an inheritance because of his last name? I said I would consider it to be polite, and have left it at that. I actually have a pretty good life as it is. My family has been very supportive, and because of the whole court thing, my son's father had to have life insurance with him as the beneficiary. Would it be nice for my kid to get a big sum of money? Yes. Do I want him to have the surname of a man who didn't want him, see him, or love him? No. I've been talking to my family about it, and a few of them think I'm being an idiot for giving up this kind of money for my son. It is generational wealth, and I'm making the decision based on emotion. I think they're idiots for thinking money is the only thing that matters. I think I will tell my son's grandparents that they can talk to him about it when he's 16. He'll be old enough to understand the implications, but young enough not to be tied professionally to his last name. You are the idiot. He's not likely to forgive you when he finds out what he's missed out on, and for just a surname. Yeah, his dad didn't want him, but his grandparents wanted to involve him as a primary heir. This is a grand move on their part, and could change your son's life. Does the decision have to be made now? If she leaves the decision to her son, and he decides to do it as a teen, would the grandparents say, nope, too late, no inheritance for you. You should have changed your name X years ago. Fortunately, OP says they're fine, and money is not everything. OP's not the idiot. They're the idiots for tying money to a name. If they want him to have it, they should give it to him regardless of the last name. I'm curious about what other strings that money will have. You're playing chicken with the grandparents' longevity then. What happens if the grandparents pass away before your son becomes a teen and can decide? He could lose a very generous inheritance because of your resentment of his father. Screw that dude. That money is your child's future, and it's not giving him the last name of a man who didn't want him. It's giving him the last name of his grandparents, who did love him and want him and provide for him and his mother's life in very meaningful ways. I mean, helping with paying for your schooling? That's way more than even most parents would do for their adult kids, let alone a basic stranger. Why is everyone assuming that somebody willing to make this kind of demand will just leave it at that? If OP gives in from now until they die, they can hold the will over her head and threaten to change it if they don't get their way. Honestly, if somebody can't respect something as basic as the name I chose to give my child, I'd question whether they should even be in contact with them. This is controlling behavior and totally misogynistic. I have to wonder, would the grandparents be putting forward the same proposal if OP had a daughter? Would they pressure a granddaughter to adopt and keep the family name if she married, or even to hyphenate it? Or would they just view it as the ends of the line and accept it? I think OP has the right answer. My sister, 22, and I, 26 female, lost our mom 20 years ago. Mom had a lot of jewelry, and she had it in her will that we would each get specific pieces of it. Dad remarried a year later to Jane. My sister considers Jane her mom, and Jane's daughter Nora, 23, her sister. Due to her feeling like they were just mom and sister and not step, my sister's given away all the jewelry she got from mom to Jane and Nora. I always refused to let them borrow pieces from me. Jane always rubbed me the wrong way because she said my mom was not my sister's mom anymore, and she was a stand-in until her real mom, her and Jane, could come into my sister's life. She said it was disgusting that I'd think it was a bad thing for my sister to share pretty jewelry with no real meaning with her family. She said I was the one who was rejecting a mom and a sister. My sister has nothing left from what mom left her. When she was graduating high school, she was upset about not having anything to wear, or so it appeared, and she asked if she could borrow a bracelet mom left me. I was like, sure, just give it back after. But my sister gave it to Jane after, and it took months for me to get it back. I told Jane I would escalate the situation if I didn't get it back. Everyone, meaning Dad, my sister, Jane, and Nora, thought I was crappy for that. Now the necklace has become an issue. It was Mom's favorite piece of jewelry, and I've always worn it. I wore it on my wedding day. My sister's aware that it was Mom's favorite, and she's seen photos of her wearing it. She wanted to borrow it to wear it on her wedding day. I was like, no way. I told her, I made it clear after the graduation incident, that she was never borrowing another piece from me again. And I told her that if she wanted something of Mom's to wear, she should take back the stuff she gave away. My sister lost it with me and started yelling that I've always held it against her, that she didn't hold Mom on a pedestal and reject everyone who came into our lives after. She said I had no right to throw that stuff in her face. I didn't, and that she should be allowed to wear something of Mom's to her wedding, just like I did when I got married. She broke down and told me I was selfish and awful, and I took pleasure in doing this to her, and I sucked, and it ruined her wedding. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's your jewelry. If your sister valued the thought of wearing and owning something that belonged to your mom, she should have kept her pieces instead of giving them away to someone who had no real meaning towards the jewelry in terms of sentimental value. If she understands the sentimentality of having your mother's jewelry, she should have promptly returned your bracelet, not given your bracelet to your stepsister without asking you. You can't trust her. Either her sense of propriety is warped, or your stepmom and sis have some undue influence on her. She can get hers back or deal with it. I really want to know at what point OP's younger sister was given this jewelry and gave it away, because it certainly seems like she was too young to realize the meaning and worth. And why did Dad let this happen? His wife is taking advantage of his kids, and where is he during all of this? And where's the jewelry now? Why can't OP's sister borrow the jewelry she gave to Jane for her special occasions? Did Jane sell it or something? Boy, it's so sad. Jane should have never accepted the other jewelry in the first place. No decent person would have, so shame on her. Your sister was too. She had fewer memories of your mom. Jane is the real idiot for brainwashing a small child with such nastiness as a stand-in mom until the real mother comes along. I pity your sister for being taken advantage of, but you're correct to deny her the use of it. It will never return to you. Jane has probably sold all the other pieces and guilted your sister that was what she needed to do to be a good mother. The reason she attacked you is because she's confident of your love. If she were to blame the person really responsible, her mom, then the fear of hurt, condemnation, and rejection would be too great. She knows at some level that this isn't genuine love. It's conditional. Maybe as a child, Jane guilted her into thinking she, as a child, had to buy or win Jane's love with gifts. Asking for those gifts back means that she's lost her mother figure. Take pics of your jewelry, insure it if it's valuable, and install a good, safe lock where you secure it when not being worn. Jane might convince her to try to steal it to keep her mom happy. We have 3 kids, pre-tween, tween, and teen. This year, we decided I would go back to work, and everything's been going great. We have 3 babysitters, a cousin, a friend's daughter, and sometimes my son. I want to clarify that he volunteered to babysit sometimes, and we paid him. We pay $20 an hour, so $10 per kid. It's easy, fast money he can make. This year, he's babysat around 15 times. If he doesn't want to, we just go get one of the other babysitters. Now, the problem is that I came home early when he was supposed to be babysitting, and he wasn't there. When we came home, we learned that he had been leaving and coming back before we did to collect the cash. He also got the kids to lie. I'm extremely angry, so he can't pay us back since it's over $1,000 that he doesn't have. So he has to at least babysit for free 10 times to make up the money, or get a job and pay it back. He was angry but chose the babysitting. We will be randomly checking in with him during it. He went to my aunt about this, and now we're getting tons of calls. They all think we're being idiots to him and have called us some creative names. Am I the idiot for forcing my son to babysit for free at least 10 times? Not the idiot, but I think you should have forced him to get a job instead of babysitting for free. It doesn't sound like he's a very good babysitter, and you have the 2 younger kids to consider. Don't prioritize his punishment over their needs, and I wouldn't trust him with anything responsible. Then there's the spite part. He could do the bare minimum, resulting in something bad happening. Yeah, your son essentially stole from you by taking payment for services that weren't actually rendered. Plus, he put his young siblings in danger by leaving them alone. What if an emergency occurred that they were too young to handle? Everyone's the idiot. What your teen did is clearly serious. What baffles me the most, though, is that you seem to care more about the money he must pay back than the colossal issue that your younger ones were put at risk by lack of supervision, and that your oldest thinks it's somehow okay to leave them unsupervised. Update. Some of you made a really good point. He is getting a job and not babysitting. Even if we check up on him, the trust isn't there. If it messes with school, he'll have to deal. A lot of teenagers have jobs, and if he really tried, I'm sure it'll be paid back in a couple of months. I, 26 male, am a construction site manager on a huge infrastructure project. My beautiful girlfriend, Francesca, 31, is a senior engineer on the project. We just discovered Francesca's pregnant, and we're both delighted. We haven't decided which of us will take a year out for parental leave, but she'll take the last couple of months before the birth. She said before that she intends to work as much as she can. I'm a bit worried about this. Francesca mainly does her thing in the office, but she occasionally goes onto the site to observe the work being done. Like most construction sites, it's full of hazardous dust, chemicals that produce toxic fumes, slip and trip hazards, and other dangers. Obviously, the workers in Francesca will wear PPE and respiratory protective equipment, but even then, there's more of a risk to an expectant mother and her unborn child. But she doesn't want to be stuck in the office, as she's very passionate about seeing her work being brought to life. I don't see why this is important. She isn't doing the physical work or managing it, and the site teams produce detailed reports at the end of every shift. Surely that's safer than risking herself and the baby out there. I was working late yesterday, so she got home before me. The topic came up again and turned into an argument. She accused me of trying to control her career and calling me a typical construction worker who's obsessed with being a manly man. I said that wasn't fair, and I just wanted her and our baby to be safe. She went upstairs in tears and I slept in our spare room. I don't want to control her or her career. I don't want her or our baby to get hurt. Am I the idiot? Why wasn't this an issue before she was pregnant? It's because now that she's pregnant with your child, you think you own her and should be allowed to control her. You are the idiot. You're infantilizing her. She's a grown woman and not made of glass. Find a way to handle your anxiety without being controlling. She enjoys her career, and you're sucking that joy out of it. Are you people insane? An expectant father can have increased anxiety about his pregnant wife's health without it being some evil, controlling behavior. It's like you freaks have never met a human being before. I'm not saying he's necessarily in the right for expecting her to stay away from her work, But that doesn't mean he's automatically dehumanizing her in his mind, as you think. Yeah, what an absolute witch-hunting statement. Do you really think that the likely explanation for this is that he sees her as his property and that he's not just anxious for the safety of the woman he loves and their unborn child? I feel bad for you. You must be miserable having such awful automatic assumptions about people's behavior. It's a construction site, not a radioactive facility. Some jobs are really risky for pregnant women, but he's being way overdramatic about her walking around a construction site. Women have been having babies for a while now, and sometimes those women have careers that could be dangerous. If you can't trust her enough to understand her own body and the risk involved in her career, why are you having a baby with her? From a woman in construction who has miraculously survived the myriad dangers you claim exist, completely unscathed, I'm in more danger of crossing the average street than I ever am on a job site. Also, OP, great honorary mention of your attempt to stonewall her career. Does she earn more than you do? The toxic part is your attitude. My ex and I split up when my daughter Sarah, teen, was 4. My ex has been married to her husband Sean for almost 3 years. I have my daughter 4 days out of the week due to her mother's work schedule. I don't like Sean. He's always given me a weird vibe, and my daughter and I are very close. Sarah wanted to go to the movies with some friends and then to a friend's house. The boys would be there. I told her to be on the lookout and to call me if she got uncomfortable. This conversation went on while we were at her mom's and I was picking her up. Sean was in the room and said, "Why are you worried? She doesn't even have boobs yet." My daughter's already self-conscious and has asked me to buy her padded bras to fit in with her friends. Sarah went mute and ran upstairs. I asked him why he would say that about a young teen, and he said he was telling the truth and that she was safe from the boys. I just got filled with rage, and my hands moved before I had a thought process, and I punched him. My ex kicked me out and made me wait in the car for Sarah. Later that night, my ex texted me, saying I need to apologize to Sean. He may have to go to the hospital because his nose is bruised pretty badly. And Sean was only joking around, and I let my temper get out of control. I just felt as though he was insulting my daughter and putting her down too, because she is very self-conscious about it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's absolutely disgusting that he would think it was okay to talk about your daughter's anatomy like that. It was an incredibly inappropriate comment and uncalled for to boot. Even if it wasn't about her breast, he made a demeaning and hurtful comment to a teenage girl who was already self-conscious. Your ex must realize she's overlooking a huge red flag, and he could end up saying or doing something even worse as she matures. Exactly. He's a skeezy scumbag, and your ex is a sorry excuse for a mother for letting her husband insult her daughter and expecting you to be the one to apologize. Please have a long talk with your daughter. Who knows what else this idiot has said to her? I wanted to point out something about what Sean did not say. The implication that once she grows up, she will then be in danger. Sometimes what people do not speak out loud is as significant as what they do say. NOP, if your daughter gives you any more reason to be upset, whatever you do, don't punch him again. The worst thing you can do at this point is lose custody because you're facing charges of assault. I'd keep an eye on the situation and even bring it up to a trusted family member who may be around him when he's with your daughter and see if they can see anything amiss.